Last Sunday, we celebrated the Feast of the Epiphany, and this Sunday, we celebrate the baptism of the Lord. This marks the dividing line between the Christmas season, when we have been reflecting on the meaning of the Incarnation, and ordinary time, when we reflect on how we will let that mystery influence our day-to-day lives. Today's readings provide us with important instruction about how we can incorporate the Incarnation into our daily lives. Most of us were baptized into Christ, either as a member of the Catholic Church or some other Christian denomination. At what age were you baptized? Do you remember the moment? Or if, like me and Luis Felipe, you were baptized as an infant, have you heard stories of that day? In today's gospel reading, we hear that the people were filled with expectation when they came to the Jordan River to be baptized by John. They wondered if John might be the Messiah. Perhaps they were more focused on who John might be than how they might be changed by baptism. To his credit, John removes himself from the limelight, promising that someone much greater than him was on the way. And in doing so, he was inviting the people to focus on how baptism might change them. Were you filled with expectation on the day you were baptized? If you were too young to have expectations, can you imagine the kind of expectations your parents and family had for you? If you are a parent, perhaps you can recall the expectations you had when you brought your child for baptism. What was your life like when you were baptized? And what promise did it hold for you and those who loved you? What is your life like now? And what promises have been fulfilled for you and for those who love you? Are you satisfied or disappointed with the present moment of your personal history? What has your baptism done for you? Jesus was well along in years when he came to the Jordan River for the ritual baptism of John. It was for Jesus a life-turning moment. For some 30 years, he had been contemplating the teaching of Mary, his mother, that God was his Father. For some 30 years, he had been praying the Psalms and soaking in the prophetic wisdom we heard in today's reading from Isaiah. And now at his baptism in the Jordan River, Jesus hears the very voice of God saying, "You are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased." Coming up out of the Jordan River, Jesus had a renewed sense of his sonship, his mission, and his need for prayer. As Christians, we believe that at our baptism, God said something similar. "You are my son. You are my daughter, my own, my beloved. With you I am well pleased." For each of us, it was a life-turning moment because it was a moment when we received a new life, the life of Jesus himself. We became God's children and brothers and sisters of Jesus. Moreover, by being baptized, Jesus allows himself to be identified with sinners like you and me. In other words, Jesus is accepting the human condition. And if Jesus accepts his humanity, then humanity must be acceptable. Being human is okay. And it's not just certain brands of humanity. It's not just Jewish male almost always minds his mother humanity. If Jesus accepts his humanity, then all of humanity is acceptable. All of humanity, Jew and Gentile, male and female, stranger and neighbor, American and non-American, rich and poor, straight and gay, conservative and progressive, Republican and Democrat, saint and sinner. And if it includes all of humanity, it includes you and maybe even me. And if we can truly understand what it means to be accepted in God's eyes, then we will begin to understand the meaning of the baptism of Jesus and the meaning of our own baptism. We will begin to understand what it means to be a beloved child of God. And feeling loved by God, we just might find it in our hearts to love the rest of God's children in our daily lives. We may feel empowered to live in a manner worthy of the grace that has been given to us, as we heard about in the letter to Titus. Through our baptism, we not only share the life of Jesus, we also share his mission to bring hope to the poor, liberty to captives, healing to the suffering, freedom to the oppressed, to give food to the hungry, drink to the thirsty, clothing to the naked, care to the sick, comfort to those imprisoned, to love our enemies, to do good to those who hate us, to forgive those who have offended us. I invite you to reflect on your baptism and what you have become in the years since. I hope you are filled with gratitude because God has called us to be brothers and sisters with Jesus. Moreover, God calls us each day to accept again our mission with Jesus. Wherever we are at this moment, whoever we are before God, we proudly accept the name of Christian, a follower and disciple of Jesus the Christ. We are God's beloved ones. With us, God is well pleased.